That feeling of being just another cog in the machine is universal. But what if you could build a character so strong, so adaptable, that you became the irreplaceable center of any room? The ancient philosophy of Stoicism holds that exact blueprint. By the end of this, you will have 25 specific, actionable ways to forge that unshakable value. We are going to explore how the same mental frameworks that guided Roman emperors through war and slaves through hardship can dissolve your modern anxieties. This is about moving from feeling expendable to becoming essential. What single quality do you think is the true foundation of being irreplaceable? The answer to that question is not talent or intelligence, but something far more fundamental. It is the power of perception. This is the first and most critical way to make yourself irreplaceable, what the Stoics called the discipline of assent. The core idea is brutally simple yet life-altering. You cannot control the events that happen to you. A project fails, a client is rude, plans fall apart. But you have absolute sovereignty over your judgment of those events. The space between what happens and how you react is where your power lies. Most people lose that power instantly. An event occurs and they fuse with their first raw impression. They become the anger, the panic, the defeat. The Stoic practice is to insert a deliberate pause. When something disruptive happens, your first job is to mentally label that initial surge of feeling. Just say to yourself, this is an impression. It is not the truth, it is just data hitting your senses. That tiny moment of separation is where you reclaim your freedom. Let us make this concrete. Imagine you receive an email from your boss. The subject line says, "Need to talk about your report." Your first impression might be a cold wave of dread. They hated it. I am in trouble. This is a disaster. That is the impression. Now apply the discipline. Pause. This is just an impression. Now choose a constructive interpretation. The data is that your boss wants to discuss your work. That is all. Perhaps they have questions. Maybe they see potential and want to build on it. It could even be positive feedback they prefer to give verbally. By shifting your perception, you do not arrive at that meeting defensive and anxious. You arrive curious, prepared, and composed. That composure under pressure is the first mark of someone indispensable. You become the person who does not add fuel to the fire, but calmly assesses the situation. You stop being a reactor and become a responder. This skill transforms chaos into clarity. And in any room, the person who sees clarity where others see confusion becomes the anchor everyone relies on. That anchor of composure is built on a foundation of clear boundaries. The second way to make yourself irreplaceable comes directly from the Stoic teacher Epictetus, and it is called the dichotomy of control. He said, "Some things are within our power while others are not. Within our power are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion, and in a word, whatever are our own actions. Outside our power are body, property, reputation, command, and in a word, whatever are not our own actions." This is not just a philosophical idea, it is a daily operating system for your mind. Think of your mental energy as a finite resource, like the battery on your phone. Every time you worry about something you cannot control, you drain that battery. You are spending precious focus and emotional capital on a problem you cannot solve. The irreplaceable person is a master of energy allocation. They pour their entire battery into the column of things they can control. Your effort is yours to command. Your integrity is your choice. Your preparation, your reactions, your willingness to learn, your attitude today, these are your sovereign territory. Now look at the other column. Your coworker's opinion of you is not yours to control. The stock market's movement, a sudden company policy change, a past mistake that cannot be undone, these are not within your power. The moment you try to control the uncontrollable, you enter a state of frustration and helplessness. But the moment you release it, you experience a profound mental freedom. Picture an employee faced with a sudden, unfair deadline imposed by management. The expendable reaction is to complain in the break room, to fixate on the injustice, to let resentment sour their work. Their energy is spent on the uncontrollable, the decision. The irreplaceable reaction is different. They acknowledge the reality, then immediately ask, what can I control here? They can control their focus on the task. They can control their communication about realistic needs. They can control the quality of the work they produce under pressure. They become the person who, when handed a chaotic situation, immediately begins to build order within their sphere of influence. This focus creates a consistency of output that is incredibly rare. While others are distracted by office politics or paralyzed by fear of failure, you are simply doing the work exceptionally well every single day. That reliability, born from a disciplined mind, makes you the pillar every team needs. And this discipline naturally leads to the next trait, one that transforms effort into undeniable results. Reliability under pressure reveals a deeper strength, one forged not in comfort but in deliberate challenge. The third way to make yourself irreplaceable is to practice voluntary discomfort. This is a concept championed by Stoics like Seneca and Musonius Rufus. They did not advocate for pointless suffering, but for a strategic form of mental and physical training. The idea is to periodically and voluntarily step away from ease and convenience. You might choose a cold shower instead of a hot one. You could skip a meal and fast until dinner, not for dieting, but to remember what hunger feels like and to prove you can handle it. You might wear simpler clothes for a day or take the longer, harder route to your destination. This is not masochism. It is a controlled stress test for your character. Why would anyone do this? It serves three powerful purposes. First, it builds resilience. Just as a muscle must be stressed to grow stronger, your tolerance for difficulty increases through exposure. When you voluntarily face a small, manageable hardship, you are training your mind to remain calm when an involuntary hardship, like a project crisis, inevitably hits. You have already proven to yourself that you can handle discomfort, so panic does not set in. Second, it drastically reduces your fear of lack. Much of our anxiety stems from a dread of losing what we have, our comforts, our status, our routines. By regularly reminding yourself that you can live with less, you drain that fear of its power. You realize your stability does not come from external conditions, but from your own inner capacity. Third, and perhaps most beautifully, it renews your appreciation for what you have. That warm shower after a cold one feels like a gift. A simple meal after a fast tastes incredible. You break the spell of taking your ordinary comforts for granted. In a professional setting, this translates directly into irreplaceable value. When a deadline looms and the team is stressed, you are the person who remains calm and effective because you have practiced being uncomfortable. You do not complain when resources are scarce, you get creative. You become the anchor in the storm, not because you are immune to stress, but because you have inoculated yourself against it through small, consistent practices. This inner toughness, visible in your steady demeanor, makes you the person others look to when things get hard. And this resilience is not a solitary trait. It is the bedrock for how you interact with the most challenging element of any workplace, other people. That inner toughness prepares you for a practice that seems counterintuitive, but is the ultimate strategic advantage. The fourth way to make yourself irreplaceable is called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. This is not about pessimism or inviting bad luck. It is a mental rehearsal for resilience. The Stoics would regularly and calmly visualize things going wrong. They would picture losing their status, their health, even their loved ones. The purpose was not to dwell in fear, but to disarm fear through familiarity. When you have already walked through the worst-case scenario in your mind, it loses its power to shock you in reality. You are no longer a victim of circumstance, you are a prepared responder. Let us do this right now. Close your eyes for a moment if you are able. Think of an important work event coming up, a major presentation to a client. Now imagine the worst plausible outcome. The projector fails, your notes are out of order. The key decision maker in the room looks bored, then interrupts to say they are not convinced. The meeting ends awkwardly and you feel you have failed. Sit with that feeling for just a few seconds. Now ask yourself the Stoic question: having seen this, what is within my power? You can prepare a backup copy of your slides on a separate drive. You can practice your talk so thoroughly that you do not need notes. You can prepare thoughtful answers to the toughest possible questions in advance. You have just transformed anxiety into a checklist. This is the magic of the exercise. By visualizing the setback, you are forced to engineer the solution before the problem even exists. In your career, this makes you the person who is never truly caught off guard. While others are paralyzed by the shock of a cancelled project, you have already considered that possibility. You have quietly thought about how you would pivot, what skills you would highlight next, or which other department might need your help. You always have a plan B, not because you are paranoid, but because you are prepared. This foresight is not seen as doomsaying, it is seen as strategic depth. It makes you the calm voice in the meeting that says, I have considered that risk and here is how we can mitigate it. That ability to anticipate and adapt is the mark of a leader, and it turns you from a replaceable worker into a vital strategic asset. This forward thinking, however, requires a foundation of absolute honesty with oneself, a willingness to see things exactly as they are, not as we wish them to be. This honest preparation reveals a truth about the obstacles we face. The fifth way to make yourself irreplaceable is to not just endure your fate, but to love it. The Stoics called this Amor Fati, a concept later championed by the philosopher Nietzsche. It means to love your fate, all of it, especially the setbacks, the failures, and the detours. This is the ultimate shift from resistance to embrace. Think of a blacksmith at his forge. The raw steel does not become a strong, sharp blade by being left in a cool, dark corner. It is thrust into the fire, hammered relentlessly, and then plunged into cold water. The steel does not get a vote in this process. It simply endures, and through that endurance, it is transformed into something far more valuable and useful than it was before. Your challenges are that fire. Amor Fati is the decision to see the fire not as a punishment, but as the essential ingredient in your own forging. In the workplace, this mindset is a superpower. Consider a major initiative you led that ultimately failed. The project is cancelled, the budget is gone, and it feels like a public defeat. The expendable person internalizes this as a permanent stain on their record. They become defensive, bitter, and risk-averse. The person practicing Amor Fati takes a deep breath and asks a different set of questions. What did this experience teach me about our market that no successful project ever could? What weaknesses in our process did it expose? What unexpected strengths did I discover in myself or my team while fighting to save it? This failed project is not a waste of time. It is a dense, painful, and invaluable package of data and experience that you now possess, and your competitors do not. You become the only person in the room who has been through that specific fire and emerged with those specific insights. This attitude transforms your entire presence. You stop being a victim of circumstance and become an alchemist of experience. When a new crisis hits, you are not panicking. You are leaning in with a curious, almost grateful intensity, looking for the lesson and the leverage hidden within the problem. People are drawn to this relentless, optimistic pragmatism. It makes you the leader who sees a path forward when others see a dead end, and that vision is utterly irreplaceable. To love your fate is to trust the process of your own growth, a trust that requires immense patience, a virtue in chronically short supply. Patience is a virtue, but waiting for the perfect moment is a trap. The sixth way to make yourself irreplaceable is to embrace a practice the Stoics called Memento Mori, a Latin phrase that means remember you must die. At first glance, this seems dark, even morbid. Yet when understood correctly, it becomes the most powerful source of clarity and motivation you will ever find. This is not about dwelling on death, but about honoring the undeniable finitude of life, and by extension, your career, your projects, even this very day. Imagine you have a clear glass jar and you are given a handful of large stones, some gravel, and a pile of sand. If you pour the sand in first, then the gravel, the big stones will never fit. But if you place the big stones in first, the gravel settles around them, and the sand fills every remaining space. Memento Mori is the practice that forces you to identify your big stones. When you remember that your time is not infinite, the trivial gravel and sand of daily life, the petty office politics, the needless complaints, the distractions that steal hours suddenly lose their grip. You begin to ask a ruthless and clarifying question. Is this how I want to spend a day of my one and only life? This question applied to your work transforms everything. It pushes you to prioritize contribution over credit. You start focusing on work that has lasting value, that solves real problems that you can look back on with pride. It fosters a profound sense of integrity because you are no longer willing to waste time on shortcuts or deception that would taint the legacy of your efforts. This awareness creates a unique kind of urgency, but it is not the frantic, panicked urgency of a last-minute deadline. It is a calm, determined urgency. It is the quiet understanding that today is the only day you can truly control, so you must make it count. You become the person who does not get dragged into gossip because that is sand. You become the person who tackles the difficult, important project first thing in the morning because that is a big stone. Your colleagues and leaders will notice this focused, purposeful energy. They will see someone who is not distracted by the noise, who moves with intention, and who produces work that matters. In a world filled with endless distractions, the person who remembers what is truly finite becomes a beacon of clarity and a creator of genuine value. That kind of focus, however, requires a deep and honest understanding of your own nature, a commitment to knowing your strengths and your breaking points with unflinching accuracy. That deep understanding of your own nature is not for contemplation alone. It is the fuel for your most valuable output. The seventh way to make yourself irreplaceable is to master the art of deep work and singular focus. In his private writings, the Emperor Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself of a simple directive. Concentrate every minute on doing what is in front of you with precise and genuine seriousness. This is Stoic mindfulness in its purest form, a direct ancestor to what modern thinker Cal Newport calls deep work, the ability to focus without distraction on a cognitively demanding task. In a world that celebrates busyness and multitasking, this skill is becoming extinct, which makes the person who possesses it utterly invaluable. The constant ping of notifications, the open tabs, the lure of quick email checks, these are not just interruptions. They are fractures in your cognitive capacity. Every time your attention is pulled away, it takes a significant amount of time and mental energy to rebuild the depth of focus you had. The Stoic practice is to treat your attention as a sacred resource to be guarded with fierce intention. This requires creating rituals, not just relying on willpower. Begin by designing your environment for focus. This could mean a physical signal like putting on headphones or a digital one, like turning off all non-essential notifications for a 90-minute block. Schedule these blocks in your calendar as unbreakable appointments with your most important work. Batch similar, shallow tasks like administrative emails or routine reports into designated low-focus periods so they do not infest your high-focus time. The goal is to create a sanctuary for your mind to do its best work. The result is not just more work, but work of a fundamentally higher quality. While others produce fragmented, reactive output, you are producing coherent, thoughtful, and creative solutions. You become the person who writes the report that anticipates every question, who codes the feature with elegant simplicity, who designs the strategy with remarkable clarity. This ability to dive deep and emerge with something substantial is a form of modern craftsmanship. In an economy flooded with shallow content and quick reactions, the craftsman who produces rare, thoughtful work is the one who cannot be replaced by an algorithm or an eager intern. Your focused attention becomes your signature, a mark of quality that others learn to trust implicitly. This trust, however, is a fragile thing, easily broken by a single moment of impulsivity or a careless word. Trust is the currency of any great team, and it is earned not through grand speeches but through the quality of your silence. The eighth way to make yourself irreplaceable is to speak with purpose and listen with intent. The Stoic teacher Epictetus put it bluntly, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." For him, careless speech was a form of self-betrayal, a leakage of your inner calm and judgment. The irreplaceable communicator understands that every word is a choice that either builds your character or erodes it. This begins with a simple, transformative habit. Pause before you respond in a meeting, before you reply to a charged email. Insert a deliberate beat of silence. That tiny gap is where you transition from reacting to responding. It is the space where you can ask yourself, is what I am about to say true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? This filter eliminates gossip, cuts through unnecessary complaint, and stops you from speaking just to fill the silence. Your words become fewer, but they carry immense weight because people learn that when you do speak, it is worth hearing. Then, elevate your listening from a passive activity to an active skill. Most people listen to reply, already formulating their own point while the other person is still talking. Your goal is to listen to understand. This means asking clarifying questions without an agenda. You might say, "So what I am hearing is that your main concern is the timeline, not the budget, is that right?" This simple act does 2 powerful things. First, it makes the other person feel truly heard, which builds deep rapport and trust. Second, it ensures you absorb the crucial details and underlying concerns that others miss while they are mentally rehearsing their own arguments. In practice, this makes you the calm center in any stormy discussion. When a debate grows heated, you are not adding more heat. You are the one who can accurately summarize each side's position, highlighting the common ground others were too agitated to see. You become the de facto mediator, not because you appointed yourself, but because your clarity naturally resolves conflicts. Leaders and colleagues will begin to seek you out before major decisions because they know you will provide considered insight, not just noise. In a world overflowing with opinion and reaction, the person who speaks sparingly and listens deeply becomes the trusted source of truth, and that is a role that is impossible to replace. This disciplined communication, however, reveals a deeper principle about where your true worth lies, moving your focus from what you say to the substance of what you actually do. Your reputation is the echo of your character long after your job title has faded. This leads us to the 9th way to make yourself irreplaceable, which is to define your character, not your title. In the Stoic view, your position, your salary, even your industry are external things, subject to the whims of the market and fate. They are roles you play, not who you are. What is truly yours and what you carry with you everywhere is your character. Your integrity, your work ethic, your kindness, your resilience, these are permanent possessions. The most powerful thing you can do is to consciously write a personal ethical code, a short, clear statement of the person you choose to be, regardless of circumstance. It might sound something like this: I am someone who is honest, diligent, and helpful, or I am someone who meets commitments, seeks to understand, and finds a way forward. This is not a resume line. It is a private constitution for your daily actions. Now, watch how this transforms mundane work. Imagine you are given a tedious, seemingly low-prestige task, like organizing a chaotic digital filing system that everyone ignores. If you are operating from your title, you might think, "This is beneath me," and do the minimum required. But if you are operating from your character code, you ask a different question. How would a diligent and helpful person approach this? That person would not just tidy the folders, they would create a logical, intuitive structure. They might write a simple guide so others can maintain it. They would see the task not as a punishment, but as an opportunity to solve a hidden problem that slows the whole team down. When you complete it, you have not just organized files, you have demonstrated diligence and helpfulness. People notice this. They begin to associate your name with thoroughness and solutions, not with a specific job function. This is how you build a reputation that transcends any single role. When layoffs come or restructuring happens, who do they fight to keep? It is rarely the person who just did their job description. It is the person whose character is a known asset, the one who is reliably honest, diligently thorough, and helpfully collaborative no matter what they are asked to do. Your character becomes your professional brand, and it is a brand that can adapt to any title, any team, any challenge. People learn to trust your core self, and that kind of trust creates loyalty and value that no algorithm or org chart can ever replicate. That unshakable character is tested most fiercely not in calm seas but in the storm. The 10th way to make yourself irreplaceable is to master the art of turning obstacles into fuel, a principle captured in the phrase, "The obstacle is the way." This is not just a motivational slogan. It is a 3-step Stoic framework for alchemy, for transforming every barrier into the very path forward. The first step is to perceive the obstacle with ruthless objectivity. Strip away the emotional narrative. Do not see a cruel boss. See a person with specific demands and pressures. Do not see a failed product launch. See a collection of market data and operational feedback. Look at the thing itself, not your story about the thing. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius faced 2 simultaneous obstacles that would break most leaders: a devastating plague sweeping the empire and constant warfare on its frontiers. His private journal, Meditations, shows him practicing this exact step. He did not lament his terrible fate. He objectively assessed the needs of his people and the duties of his station. Then he simply did the work, writing laws and leading armies from his war camp. The obstacle, the chaos, became the very context for his leadership. The second step is to refuse to be emotionally defeated. This is where you consciously decide that the obstacle will not make you bitter, resentful, or helpless. You accept its existence without surrendering to its weight. The obstacle says you cannot. You quietly respond, "Watch me." The third and most crucial step is to persistently search for the action the obstacle enables. Every single barrier blocks one path, but in doing so, it forces you to see others. Your project budget gets cut. The blocked path is the expensive, conventional solution. The new path it enables might be a more creative, lean, and innovative approach that becomes your team's signature. You are passed over for a promotion. The blocked path is upward mobility on that specific ladder. The new path it enables might be to cultivate a specialized skill in a different area, making you the undisputed expert in something the company suddenly needs a year later. This mindset forges an unstoppable, adaptive problem solver. While others are halted at the first sign of resistance, you are already looking for the hidden handle on the barrier, the way to use its leverage. You become the team member who, when presented with a problem, does not dwell on why it is unfair, but immediately begins exploring how it can be used. This transforms your presence in any organization. You are no longer a consumer of perfect conditions. You are a creator of results from any conditions. People will start bringing you their toughest challenges not to burden you, but because they have learned you see possibilities where they see dead ends. That unique vision, born from a stubborn refusal to see any event as purely negative, makes you a perpetual engine of value. And this relentless forward motion requires a fuel that is often neglected, the quiet maintenance of your own inner world. Your inner world is a garden, and like any garden, it requires boundaries to thrive. The 11th way to make yourself irreplaceable is to cultivate a cosmic perspective, to see yourself as a citizen of the world. The Stoics called this cosmopolitanism. 2,000 years ago, while most people identified only with their city or tribe, thinkers like Marcus Aurelius and Diogenes declared they were citizens of the cosmos. This was a radical idea that we are all connected members of a single human community. In a modern office, this translates directly into your most valuable professional trait, the ability to transcend your silo. The expendable employee sees only their department. They hoard information, compete for credit, and view other teams as rivals. Their world is small, and their value is limited to that small box. The irreplaceable citizen of the world operates differently. They see the entire organization as a single organism, and they understand that a pain in the marketing department eventually affects the health of sales, product, and support. They ask a simple, powerful question: how can my work make the whole system stronger? This perspective manifests in quiet, daily actions. It is the engineer who takes the time to explain a technical constraint to the design team in plain language, fostering better collaboration. It is the accountant who notices a process in logistics that is creating unnecessary costs and mentions it, not because it is their job, but because it helps the company. It is the person who, during interdepartmental meetings, actively listens to challenges outside their domain and thinks, who do I know that could help with this? By building bridges instead of walls, you become a central node in the company's network. You are no longer just a specialist in your corner, you are a connector of people and ideas. This makes you the go-to person for solving complex problems that span multiple areas because you understand the bigger picture and you have relationships across the map. In an era of remote work and global teams, this cosmopolitan mindset is not a soft skill, it is a strategic necessity. The person who can collaborate seamlessly across cultures, time zones, and departmental languages is the glue that holds a fragmented organization together. Your value is no longer tied to a single function. It is woven into the very fabric of how the company operates, and that makes you impossible to remove without unraveling the connections you have built. This outward focus, however, must be balanced by a fierce and unapologetic protection of your most vital resource. Gratitude is not a passive feeling, it is a muscle you build through deliberate exercise. The 12th way to make yourself irreplaceable is to practice a form of mental time travel called negative visualization, but with a twist. Earlier, we used premeditatio malorum to prepare for challenges. This version has a different, equally powerful purpose: to shock your system into appreciating the ordinary blessings you currently possess. The practice is simple but profound. For just a few quiet moments, vividly imagine that a core part of your life has been taken away. Do not just think about it, feel it, picture your job. Imagine waking up tomorrow and it is simply gone. The routine, the colleagues, the purpose, the income, all vanished. Sit with the hollow anxiety of that loss. Feel the uncertainty, the scramble, the blow to your identity. Hold that feeling for 30 seconds, then open your eyes and retrieve it. You still have your job. That project is still yours to complete. That desk is still yours to sit at. The wave of relief and appreciation that follows is not just emotional, it is transformative. It instantly dismantles entitlement, the silent killer of motivation and teamwork. You stop seeing your work as an obligation or a mere transaction. You begin to see it as a privilege, a platform you are lucky to have. Apply this same exercise to your health, your key relationships, even your basic abilities. Imagine losing your eyesight for a day, then open your eyes and see. The world is suddenly a gift. In a professional setting, this practice generates a radiant, positive energy that is magnetic. A team member free of entitlement does not hoard credit. They are quick to recognize the contributions of others because they genuinely appreciate being part of a functioning whole. They are less prone to resentment over minor slights or unfair distributions of work because they are anchored in a deeper gratitude for having the work at all. This makes you the collaborative glue, the person who strengthens bonds rather than straining them. When a project is stressful, you are the one who can lighten the mood with genuine appreciation for the team's effort. When resources are tight, you focus on what you have to work with, not what you lack. This mindset is contagious. It builds psychological safety and trust faster than any team-building exercise. Leaders notice the person who consistently operates from a place of grateful contribution, not cynical consumption. That person is not just a worker, they are a cultural asset, a pillar of morale who makes everyone around them better. And from this foundation of gratitude, a quieter, more formidable strength can emerge, the power of knowing exactly what is enough. Gratitude opens your eyes, but it is understanding that opens doors. The 13th way to make yourself irreplaceable is to judge less and understand more. Marcus Aurelius offered a simple but revolutionary lens for this. He wrote, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." This single sentence, if applied, can dissolve more workplace tension than any policy manual. The human mind is a judgment machine. We are wired to instantly categorize people and actions. A colleague misses a deadline, and our first thought is they are lazy or unreliable. A manager gives curt feedback, and we label them as harsh or unfair. These snap judgments feel like facts, but they are merely our first, flimsiest interpretation of a situation we know almost nothing about. The Stoic practice is to catch that judgment as it forms and consciously replace it with a question. Instead of deciding what a person is, get curious about what might be causing their behavior. This shift is not about being naive or excusing poor performance. It is about moving from a position of reactive blame to one of strategic understanding. Imagine you are leading a project and a normally reliable team member starts submitting sloppy, late work. The judgment path leads to frustration, a reprimand, and a damaged relationship. The understanding path starts with a quiet question. What might be causing this? You schedule a brief, private check-in, not to accuse, but to inquire. You might say, "I have noticed the last few deliverables have been a struggle, which is unusual for you. Is everything okay?" This opens a door. Perhaps they reveal a serious family illness, or they are overwhelmed by another manager's demands, or they are deeply confused by a new software tool but were too embarrassed to ask for help. Now you are not facing a problem person, you are facing a solvable problem. You can offer support, adjust timelines, or provide training. You have just turned a potential conflict into a loyalty-building moment. This practice makes you the empathetic anchor on any team. When tensions rise between departments, you are the one who can articulate the other side's perspective because you have trained yourself to look for it. You become the manager who can de-escalate a heated situation because you are not reacting to the emotion, you are seeking the cause behind it. This emotional intelligence is a rare and coveted skill. It allows you to manage and motivate people not through authority, but through genuine connection and insight. In a world quick to criticize, the person who seeks first to understand becomes the trusted confidant, the effective leader, and the irreplaceable peacemaker. Security is not found in being flawless, but in how you handle being wrong. The 14th way to make yourself irreplaceable is to own your mistakes completely, a practice of radical responsibility that cuts against our deepest instincts. Stoicism teaches that your character is judged not by the error itself, but by your response to it. The common, expendable reaction is a cascade of self-preservation. We minimize, we deflect, we bury the error in a cloud of excuses, or we quietly hope no one notices. This instinct comes from fear, the fear of appearing incompetent, of losing status, of facing consequences. But that very act of concealment is what truly diminishes you. It leaks your integrity and traps you in anxiety, waiting for the mistake to be discovered. The irreplaceable person operates from a different principle. They understand that admitting a fault with speed and clarity does not weaken their position, it fortifies it. The moment you realize an error, your first move is to claim it specifically and without caveats. Do not say, "There was a problem with the report because the data was late from another department." Say, "I made an error in the final calculations on page 3. I have corrected it, and here is the revised version." Notice the structure. First, the clear, unadorned admission. Second, the immediate solution already in hand. Third, the implied lesson, which is that you have systems to prevent it next time. This transforms the entire dynamic. You are no longer a defendant in a courtroom. You are a problem solver briefing the team. Your leader is not put in the position of having to investigate or assign blame. They are presented with a solved issue and a person who has already done the hard work of accountability. This builds trust at a staggering speed. People learn that you are more committed to the truth than to your own image, that you are secure enough to be wrong, and that you are relentlessly focused on making things right. In a culture that often rewards blame shifting, this integrity shines like a beacon. It makes you the person others can trust with sensitive information, with high-stakes projects, and with honest feedback because they know your ego will not get in the way of the mission. Every owned mistake handled this way becomes a brick in the foundation of your credibility, proving you are safe, capable, and ultimately indispensable. Credibility built on accountability requires a sanctuary, a private space for your mind to find its true north. Marcus Aurelius, ruling an empire in constant turmoil, wrote of retreating into his own inner citadel. This was not a physical place, but a mental fortress built from his deepest principles. Your inner citadel is the quiet, unshakable core of self that remains standing when everything outside is in chaos. It is where you store your non-negotiable values, your sense of purpose, and your practiced calm. Building it is a daily act of architecture, not a one-time event. The simplest tool is the nightly review, a practice Seneca recommended. For just 5 minutes before sleep, ask yourself 2 questions. Where did my actions today align with my character? Where did they drift? Do not judge yourself harshly. Simply observe like a scientist studying data. This is not about guilt, it is about calibration. Then reaffirm your core principles. Write them down if you must. I value integrity over convenience. I choose courage over comfort. I meet difficulty with curiosity. By doing this daily, you are not just thinking about your values, you are engraving them into the pathways of your mind. Now, watch what happens when a storm hits the office. Rumors of layoffs swirl, emails grow tense, and productivity freezes in fear. Most people are swept into the collective anxiety, their moods and decisions dictated by the external panic. But the person who has spent months building their inner citadel reacts differently. They feel the same initial wave of uncertainty, but they have a place to retreat to. They can step back mentally into that space of principle and ask, what is within my control here? My effort is mine. My conduct is mine. My focus on supporting my team is mine. They do not add to the rumor mill. They do not make desperate, short-sighted moves to save their own skin. Instead, they become a pillar of composed productivity. They might say to their team, we cannot control the rumors, but we can control the quality of the work we do today, which is the best argument for our value. In that moment, they are no longer just another employee. They become the source of stability others cling to. Leaders will notice this unflappable presence. Colleagues will seek your counsel because you offer clear thinking, not more fear. Your inner citadel makes you the calm in the crisis, and that is a role that is not just valuable, it is vital. This inner citadel is not built by accident, but through a quiet nightly ritual. The 16th way to make yourself irreplaceable is to practice the evening review, a discipline Seneca called the examination of conscience. Each night before sleep, he would ask himself 3 simple questions. What wrong did I do today? What good did I do? What progress did I make? This was not a harsh interrogation, but a gentle, systematic course correction for the soul. The goal is not to dwell on failure with guilt, but to observe your own patterns with the detached curiosity of a scientist studying data. Your own version could follow a simple 3-part template. First, ask, what did I do well today? This is not about ego, but about reinforcing positive patterns. Did I handle a difficult conversation with patience? Did I complete a challenging task with focus? Acknowledge that strength so you know to call upon it again. Second, ask, where did I act against my values? Be specific and gentle. Did I speak harshly out of frustration? Did I procrastinate on an important item out of fear? The key is to name the action without attaching a global label to yourself. You are not a bad person. You are a person who made a choice that drifted from your North Star. Third, ask, what single thing could I improve tomorrow? Do not create an overwhelming list. Choose one small, actionable step. Tomorrow, I will pause for 3 full seconds before responding to criticism. Tomorrow, I will tackle the most important task first before checking email. This ritual takes only 5 minutes, but its compound effect is staggering. It prevents you from sleepwalking through your career, repeating the same subtle mistakes day after day. Instead, you engage in a process of daily refinement. Over weeks, you stop the small leaks of integrity. You reinforce the habits of excellence, and you build an unshakable self-awareness. Colleagues will not see you doing this review, but they will see its results. They will see the person who rarely makes the same error twice, who seems to learn and adapt with remarkable speed, whose judgment grows steadily more reliable. This quiet, private commitment to getting 1% better every single day creates a track record of excellence that speaks louder than any boast. It is the ultimate proof that you are not waiting for external validation to grow. You are architecting your own evolution, and that self-directed progress is the hallmark of someone truly essential. The evening review sharpens your self-awareness, revealing a crucial distinction. The 17th way to make yourself irreplaceable is to adopt a stoic double standard, to be strict with yourself and tolerant with others. This is not a contradiction, but a profound recognition of where your power truly lies. Your own mind, your choices, your reactions, these are the only things you can command with absolute authority. The actions and attitudes of everyone else exist outside that circle of control. The irreplaceable person builds their life on this foundation. Internally, you are a relentless judge, holding yourself to the highest standards of the 4 cardinal virtues. You demand courage from yourself to speak difficult truths. You practice temperance by mastering your own impulses and distractions. You pursue wisdom through constant learning. You enact justice by treating everyone with fairness, starting with your own conduct. This inner court is where you are uncompromising, but when you turn outward, the gavel drops. You replace judgment with understanding. You recognize that your colleague's short temper may stem from a sleepless night with a sick child. You see that a manager's micromanagement might be born from a past failure they are terrified of repeating. This is not about excusing poor behavior, but about understanding its source. It prevents the hypocrisy of holding others to a standard you only preach but do not practice. More importantly, it saves you from the exhausting, futile burnout of trying to control or fix the people around you. Your energy is no longer spent on resentment over how others should be. It is channeled entirely into the one project you can actually perfect yourself. In practice, this creates a leadership presence that is both formidable and magnetic. People sense your high self-discipline, which earns respect, but they also feel your patient understanding, which earns trust. You become the leader who, when a mistake is made, does not first ask who is to blame but what can be learned. You are the colleague who offers help without a hint of superiority, because your strictness is directed inward, not used as a weapon. This balance makes you the safe harbor in the storm, the person others will confide in and collaborate with freely, because they know your strength comes with compassion, not condemnation. That inner discipline creates a fortress of time, the one resource you can never recover. Seneca, in his piercing essay on the shortness of life, wrote that people are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy. The modern world has perfected a sinister illusion, replacing true productivity with a state of constant, empty busyness. We fill our calendars with back-to-back meetings, our screens with endless notifications, and our days with reactive tasks that leave us exhausted but no closer to our goals. This is the trap, mistaking motion for progress, and it is the single greatest thief of your potential. The irreplaceable person declares a quiet war on this theft. They begin with a ruthless audit. For 1 week, track your hours with brutal honesty. How many are spent in meetings that could have been an email? How many are lost to the vortex of social media or trivial administrative loops? The data is often shocking, revealing vast deserts of wasted potential. This audit is not about self-judgment, it is about reclaiming sovereignty. Armed with this clarity, you exercise the most powerful word in the Stoic vocabulary, no. You must learn to decline requests, meetings, and projects that do not align with your core contributions or your character code. This is not about being unhelpful, it is about being strategic. Every time you say no to a low-value task, you are saying yes to a high-value one. Finally, you deliberately invest your reclaimed time in skill building, the ultimate high-leverage activity. This is where you move from being a consumer of information to a creator of capability. Block out 90 minutes 3 times a week for deep, focused learning in your field. Study the underlying principles, not just the latest trends. Build a project that stretches you. This investment compounds silently but exponentially. While others are spreading their time thin across 100 shallow tasks, you are developing a deep, dense expertise. In a year, you are not just slightly better at your job, you have become the undisputed authority on a crucial system, the only one who understands a complex process, or the go-to person for innovative solutions. Your contribution becomes so dense with value that replacing you would mean losing not just a worker, but a library of applied knowledge and an engine of future growth. You are no longer trading hours for dollars, you are accumulating intellectual capital that pays dividends for the entire organization. That deep expertise becomes its own reward, a source of motivation untouched by the shifting winds of opinion. The 19th way to make yourself irreplaceable is to cultivate a profound indifference to praise and blame. The Stoics called this practice of separating your worth from external validation. It is crucial to understand this does not mean you become arrogant or ignore feedback. That would be a fatal mistake. It means you stop letting your self-worth, your inner peace, and your sense of direction be held hostage by the opinions of others. Your value is an internal fact, not an external verdict. Think of yourself as a ship navigating the ocean. Praise and blame are like the wind and the waves. They are real forces, and a skilled captain must account for them to steer the vessel. But the captain's goal is not to make the wind happy or to argue with the waves. The captain's goal is to reach the destination. The wind of praise can fill your sails and help you move faster, but if you become dependent on it, you are dead in the water the moment it stops. The waves of blame can crash against your hull, but if you let them dictate your course, you will be tossed aimlessly and never arrive. The irreplaceable person learns to read the weather without becoming the weather. Here is how it works in practice. When you receive criticism, you perform a simple mental extraction. First, you let the emotional sting, the heat of embarrassment or anger, wash over you and then pass by. You do not fight it, you just observe it like a storm cloud moving across the sky. Then, once the emotional charge has dissipated, you look coldly at the substance of what was said. Is there a useful piece of data here? Is there a mistake I can correct, a blind spot I was unaware of? If yes, you take that data and you act on it, grateful for the lesson. If the criticism is just noise, personal animosity with no constructive core, you let it go completely. It is just bad weather and you have a destination to reach. You apply the same ruthless filter to praise. The warm glow of flattery feels wonderful, but if you start to need it, you become manipulable. Someone can control you by withholding praise or by offering hollow compliments to steer you. So you enjoy the moment, thank the person, and then immediately ask yourself, what did I actually do that was effective? You anchor the lesson in the action, not the applause. This practice builds an unshakable, quiet confidence. You become the employee who can walk into a performance review genuinely open to feedback, not defensive or desperate for validation. You can present a bold, unconventional idea and remain composed whether it is met with cheers or skepticism, because your belief in the idea's merit does not require their immediate approval to sustain it. Your motivation comes from your own character code and your commitment to the work itself, not from the dopamine hit of a pat on the back. This inner stability makes you incredibly difficult to manipulate or destabilize. Leaders trust you with sensitive information because they know you will not be swayed by office politics. Colleagues respect you because your actions are consistent, not performative. In a world where so many are puppets to the opinions of others, the person whose strings are cut becomes the one truly in command of their own destiny. That quiet command over your own destiny is built one small, seemingly insignificant action at a time. The 20th way to make yourself irreplaceable is to do your job well, no matter how small it seems. In the Stoic view, there is no hierarchy of virtuous actions. A Roman centurion did not consider sharpening his sword beneath his dignity. It was the very act that ensured his survival and effectiveness in battle. The philosopher Epictetus, who began his life as a slave, taught that cleaning a room well was an exercise in discipline just as valid as debating logic. The task itself is neutral. What matters is the character you bring to it. In your modern work, this translates into a radical commitment to mundane excellence. It is answering every email with clarity and courtesy, not just the ones to important clients. It is preparing meeting notes that are so thorough and well organized that they become the single source of truth for the project. It is taking the extra 30 seconds to tidy a shared kitchen space or to properly label a file so the next person can find it without a hunt. This is not about being a perfectionist or a pushover. It is about understanding that your character is not built in the grand, dramatic moments that happen once a year. It is forged in the 10,000 small moments of choice that fill your average Tuesday. When you bring full attention and care to a minor task, you are not just completing that task. You are training your mind to engage fully with whatever is in front of you. You are strengthening the neural pathways of diligence and respect. This discipline ensures that excellence is not a special occasion, it is your default setting. The cumulative effect is a reputation for relentless quality. People begin to notice that anything with your name on it, from a simple memo to a major report, carries a mark of thoroughness. They learn they can trust the foundation because you have proven you would never cut a corner, even on the parts no one might see. This shows a profound respect for the process itself, not just the glory of the finished product. It signals that you understand how great achievements are actually built, layer by careful layer, detail by attended detail. In a world chasing shortcuts and quick wins, the person who finds dignity and mastery in the fundamentals becomes the bedrock. You become the one they know will handle the invisible, essential work that holds everything else together. The mastery of fundamentals is a quiet rebellion against a culture obsessed with shortcuts, but its true power is unlocked only when connected to a cause greater than yourself. The 21st way to make yourself irreplaceable is to consciously link your daily work to a larger purpose, a principle the Stoics called serving the common good. For them, virtue was not a private possession but a public contribution. Your work, no matter how technical or seemingly isolated, is a thread in a vast tapestry. The irreplaceable person learns to see the pattern and point it out to others. This is not about empty corporate mission statements. It is about a personal, profound reframing of your role. You are not just making spreadsheets. You are building a crystal-clear foundation of data so your leaders can make decisions that secure jobs and create new opportunities. You are not just answering customer service complaints. You are restoring a person's faith in a brand, solving a real problem in their day, and protecting the reputation that keeps the entire company afloat. You are not just writing code. You are creating the digital infrastructure that allows a small business to reach its customers or a family to stay connected across continents. This shift in perspective is the difference between having a job and having a calling. It transforms exhaustion into endurance. When you are tired, remembering that your report helps fund a new community initiative can provide the energy for one final review. When a client is difficult, seeing yourself as the guardian of your company's integrity can summon patience you did not know you had. This sense of purpose is also contagious. When you articulate the larger why behind a mundane task, you lift the entire team's vision. In a meeting about a tedious compliance audit, you might be the one to say, "This is not about checking boxes. This is about ensuring every one of our customers is protected and treated fairly." That single sentence can reframe hours of drudgery into a collective mission. People are drawn to work that feels meaningful. They will gravitate toward the colleague who consistently illuminates the impact of their shared efforts. You become the source of context and inspiration, the person who reminds everyone why their Monday morning effort matters in the grand scheme of things. This ability to instill meaning is a form of leadership that requires no title, only insight. It makes you the emotional and intellectual anchor, the one who turns a group of individuals into a crew sailing toward a shared horizon. Yet, a noble purpose can be corrupted if it becomes a rigid ideology, a club with which to judge the world. A rigid ideology can blind you to the subtle currents of reality, the ever-changing context in which your purpose must live. This demands a perspective so vast it dissolves pettiness entirely. The 22nd way to make yourself irreplaceable is to regularly practice the view from above, a meditation Marcus Aurelius used to govern an empire without losing his soul. Close your eyes for a moment. Start with the tight focus of your immediate frustration, perhaps a critical email sitting in your inbox. Now pull your mental camera back. See yourself at your desk, a single figure in a room. Pull back further. See your building as a tiny box on a city grid, the traffic flowing like tiny ants. Pull back again. See your city as a cluster of lights on the coast of a continent, the mountains and rivers ancient and indifferent. Pull back further still. See the planet, a blue and white marble hanging in the black silence of space, your entire country just a smudge of color. Finally, let your mind stretch to the scale of the cosmos with its billions of galaxies, each containing billions of stars. Now look for your email. It is gone. The sting of that criticism has vanished into the cosmic silence. What remains? Not your title, not your slighted pride, not the minor victory you were seeking. What remains is the tiny, bright pinprick of your conscious choice in this vastness, your character, your decision to act with integrity, to contribute something of value, to connect with other conscious pinpricks on this small, fragile marble. This is not about making your work feel insignificant. It is about making your ego feel insignificant so that your true work can emerge unobstructed. When you return from this mental journey, the landscape of your day is transformed. That territorial dispute with another department shrinks from a war to a minor coordination issue. The desperate need to be right in a meeting evaporates, replaced by a genuine desire to find the best solution. Your focus shifts from protecting your small plot of status to tending the garden of your long-term legacy. What will your character have stood for? What lasting value will your efforts have created in your tiny corner of the marble? This cosmic humility is the birthplace of true strategy. You stop playing office chess, worried about the next 3 moves of your career, and you start planting trees whose shade you may never sit under. You make the decision that is right for the company in 5 years, not just convenient for you this quarter. You mentor a junior colleague without keeping score because you see yourself as a temporary steward of knowledge, not its permanent owner. This big picture calm makes you the undisputed adult in the room during petty conflicts. Leaders will seek your counsel for major decisions because they know your advice is not polluted by personal agenda or departmental bias. You see the whole board when others are fixated on their single piece. In a culture of frantic short-termism, the person who operates with serene, cosmic scale perspective becomes the guiding star, the one who reminds everyone of the true destination. This vast perspective, however, reveals a simple truth about the nature of our struggles. That cosmic view shrinks the ego, but it does not eliminate the need for a practical plan. The 23rd way to make yourself irreplaceable is to consciously prepare for success, not just fear failure. We have already explored the power of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, to build resilience. But the Stoic mind is balanced. It also trains for victory by calmly and objectively visualizing the disciplined path to achievement. This is not about grandiose fantasy or daydreaming of applause. It is a mental rehearsal of the virtuous process itself. Close your eyes and imagine a major project you are about to undertake, perhaps a crucial client presentation or launching a new initiative. Now visualize its successful completion, but do not jump to the celebration. Freeze the frame on the disciplined steps that got you there. See yourself in your mind's eye, waking up early and reviewing your notes with focus, not anxiety. Watch yourself listening intently to a colleague's concern and integrating their feedback. Observe your own calm demeanor during a tense moment in a planning meeting where you choose curiosity over defensiveness. Picture the final deliverable not as a trophy, but as the natural result of 100 small, correct choices made with integrity and diligence. This mental programming is profound. When you walk through the successful process in detail, you are laying down neural pathways for composed execution. You are teaching your brain what right action feels like under pressure. The goal is not to guarantee the outcome, which is never fully within your control, but to guarantee the quality of your effort, which always is. On the actual day of the presentation, you will not be relying on shaky confidence or hoping for inspiration. You will be following a script your mind has already run successfully a dozen times. Your hands will know the motions, your voice will carry the calm of practiced focus. This makes you the person who performs when it counts. While others are crippled by the weight of expectation, you are simply executing a sequence you have already mastered in your mind. Your leaders will see you as the one who can be handed a high-stakes task and trusted to deliver not just a result, but a composed, professional process from start to finish. That reliability under the bright lights is the hallmark of someone who has done the invisible work of preparing their own mind for excellence, a quiet confidence that never tips into arrogance because it is rooted in respect for the work, not in a fantasy of the reward. And this forward-looking preparation reveals a timeless truth about the source of all lasting achievement. Preparation plants the seed, but learning is the water that makes it grow. The 24th way to make yourself irreplaceable is to embody the Stoic ideal of philosophy as a way of life, to become a perpetual student of your craft, your world, and your own mind. For the Stoics, wisdom was not a trophy you earned and placed on a shelf. It was a daily practice, a continuous project of sharpening your tools and expanding your vision. The moment you believe you have arrived, you have begun your obsolescence. The irreplaceable professional understands that their most valuable skill is not any single technical ability. It is the meta-skill of learning itself. This is what keeps you ahead of the curve, adaptable to change and endlessly interesting. It begins with a simple, non-negotiable habit. Consume ideas, not just information. Dedicate 30 minutes each day to reading something that stretches you, something outside the urgent feed of news and social media. It could be a book on the history of your industry, a biography of a great leader, or even a text on an entirely different field like psychology or architecture. The goal is to cross-pollinate ideas, to see patterns others miss because their reading is confined to the same trade publications. Next, actively seek mentors, not just bosses. A boss manages your output, a mentor shapes your thinking. Look for someone whose character you admire, not just their title. The conversation you want is not about how to get a promotion, but about how they navigate ethical dilemmas, how they process failure, or how they structure their thinking on complex problems. Then, crucially, volunteer for the stretch assignment that scares you. Raise your hand for the project in the unfamiliar department, the one that requires you to learn a new software from scratch or present to an audience you have never faced. The fear is the signal that you are at the edge of your competence, which is exactly where growth happens. In that uncomfortable space, you are not just completing a task, you are wiring your brain for adaptability. You are proving to yourself and to your organization that you can conquer unknown territory. This lifelong learning stance transforms your presence. You stop being a repository of past knowledge and become a conduit for new possibilities. In meetings, you are the one who can ask, what if we looked at this the way an engineer from the 1960s would? Or how might a hospitality company solve this customer service issue? You bring analogies and connections from other worlds that spark innovation. Your value compounds because you are not just maintaining the status quo, you are quietly, consistently adding new layers of capability and insight. When new technology disrupts your field, you are not the person panicking about being replaced. You are the person already taking the online course, experimenting with the new tool, and figuring out how to integrate it. You make yourself obsolete on your own terms by constantly evolving into a more capable version of yourself, so the market never has a chance to leave you behind. Your core offering becomes not what you know today, but your proven ability to know what will be needed tomorrow. Learning is a process, but its ultimate purpose is not to fill a library in your mind. It is to live what you have learned. The 25th and final way to make yourself irreplaceable is the master key that unlocks all the others, to lead by example, not by words. This is the Stoic ideal in its purest form. The belief that virtue is not a theory to be debated but a practice to be embodied. Your character, forged through the previous 24 ways, becomes your ultimate and most persuasive form of communication. Think of the most influential person you have ever worked with, the one who shaped you not through lectures but through their daily presence. They were likely the calmest person in the room during a crisis, not because they gave a speech about staying calm, but because their breathing remained steady. They were the first to take responsibility for a mistake, not because they preached accountability, but because they simply owned it without fuss. They focused with such intensity that it made distraction feel disrespectful. This is silent leadership, and it carries an authority that no job title can ever confer. When you consistently demonstrate the discipline of perception, choosing constructive interpretations where others see disaster, you are not telling your team to stay positive, you are showing them how it is done. When you practice voluntary discomfort and meet hard deadlines with relentless focus, you are not giving a pep talk about resilience, you are embodying it. Your actions become a living blueprint for excellence. This creates a powerful cultural gravity. People are not inspired by platitudes, they are inspired by proximity to someone who actually lives the principles they claim to value. Your integrity in small things makes trust the default. Your composed response to bad news becomes the team's new standard for handling setbacks. You stop needing to assert your authority because your character has earned a deeper form of respect. You become the cultural cornerstone, the person others instinctively look to when they are unsure how to proceed. They will start to mirror your behaviors, not because you ask them to, but because they have seen that your way works. It leads to better results, less stress, and a profound sense of shared dignity. In this way, you stop being just a contributor and become a multiplier of value, elevating everyone around you simply by being who you are. This is how you make yourself irreplaceable, not by clinging to a role, but by becoming the kind of person whose presence makes the entire system stronger, more ethical, and more resilient. Your legacy will not be a list of tasks completed, but the character you demonstrated in completing them, and the example you left for others to follow. That silent leadership, that final way of leading by example, is where the philosophy becomes flesh and blood. We have journeyed through 25 distinct Stoic ways to build a character that cannot be replaced. This was never a checklist for becoming the smartest person in the room or the most technically brilliant. The world is full of fleeting genius. True irreplaceability is forged from more durable materials, resilience in the face of chaos, adaptability in the face of change, and an unshakable commitment to principle when shortcuts are everywhere. It is about becoming the calm center that holds, the clear mind that sees, and the trustworthy hand that acts with integrity. Remember that opening feeling, the anxiety of being just another cog in the machine. That feeling dissolves when you realize the machine itself is an illusion. You are not a cog, you are the craftsman. And with these tools, you are building something no one can take from you, a professional identity rooted not in a title but in your demonstrated character. The path forward is not about mastering all 25 ways at once. That would be overwhelming. Your power lies in selection and consistency, so here is your challenge. Look back over these principles and choose just one, maybe two, to practice with fierce intention this week. Will you start with the discipline of perception, pausing to label your impressions before you react? Will you practice voluntary discomfort by tackling your most important task first, before the day's distractions claim your energy? Or will you commit to the evening review, spending 5 minutes to calibrate your character against your actions? Tell us in the comments which way you are choosing to practice. Sharing your commitment creates accountability and inspires others. And if you want to continue this journey of turning ancient wisdom into modern mastery, to build a life and career of unshakable strength, subscribe. Together, we will keep exploring practical philosophy that works not on the page but in the pressure of your everyday world. Your irreplaceable future begins not tomorrow, but with the very next choice you make.